You know, when you think of Japan, you probably picture stunning mountains and deep blue oceans, right? Well, that scenery isn't just a pretty backdrop. It's actually shaping the country's entire future. We're going to dive into how Japan's own geography created a demographic crisis and how that same exact landscape might now be its best way out.
So take a look at this. This is way more than just a map. Think of it as the blueprint for Japan's entire story. These islands, these mountains, these deep ocean trenches, they tell a tale of isolation, of incredibly limited space, and of a people who have been forced to constantly adapt. In this story, the land itself is really the main character.
All right, so if we really want to get a handle on what Japan is facing today, we have to go back to basics. We have to start with that fundamental physical reality. So let's dig into the lay of the land. 14,125. What's that number? Well, you might think you know Japan's geography, but it turns out it's way bigger than any of us thought. A recent digital recount more than doubled the official number of islands. So we're talking about a massive, sprawling archipelago that stretches over 3,000 kilometers.
So you've got all those thousands of islands, but look at this. Such a tiny, tiny sliver of the land is actually residential. With a staggering 2/3 of the entire country covered in forest, it really makes you wonder, right? Where is everybody living?
And this is why. A whopping 73% of Japan is mountainous. We're talking rugged, volcanic terrain. This makes flat, livable land an incredibly precious and scarce resource. It's not a choice, it's a geographic fact that dictates pretty much everything that follows.
And so what's the direct result of all that? Well, the entire population, all 126 million people, are basically squeezed into these small habitable pockets along the coasts and in the valleys. This not only creates some of the most densely packed cities on the planet, but it also drives the cost of living through the roof, making it super difficult to find space and afford to raise a family. And that intense concentration has created a second, much quieter problem.
So that intense pressure of geography, it leads us directly to this other urgent crisis, one that's all about people. And as you're about to see, these two problems are completely intertwined.
Even Japan's own prime minister called it a quiet emergency, and I think that's the perfect way to describe it. It's not this big, loud catastrophe, it's a slow, creeping challenge that's threatening the very fabric of the nation.
And if you want to see the scale of this emergency, just look at this number, minus 900,000. In just 1 year, Japan's population fell by nearly 900,000 people. That's the largest drop since they started keeping modern records. It's just a staggering figure.
I mean, look at these two numbers side by side. The gap is just shocking. While a record low number of babies were born, the total population fell by 900,000. Let that sink in for a second. For every single baby that was born, the country's population actually went down by more than one person. The math just doesn't add up.
And it's not just about fewer births. As that happens, the whole population gets older, and it's happening fast. Right now, nearly 1/3 of everyone in Japan is over the age of 65. Think about the incredible strain that puts on the shrinking workforce and the country's social services.
So what does all this actually look like on the ground, in real life? Well, it's created a nation of contrasts, almost like two different Japans. One that's overflowing with people and another that's just disappearing.
And here's the paradox of modern Japan in a nutshell. On one hand, you have the Tokyo metro area, home to over 33 million people, one of the largest urban areas on Earth. But at the exact same time, you've got an estimated 4 million abandoned homes scattered across the countryside, just left to decay as entire rural communities vanish.
And this crazy concentration isn't just about where people live, it's also about where tourists go. Visitors flock to these iconic cityscapes, like this one in Kyoto. And this is no accident. Decades of marketing and infrastructure, like the famous bullet train lines, have funneled everyone into just a handful of places. And that's led to what a lot of people are now calling over-tourism, just intense overcrowding and strain on a few popular spots.
But here's the thing. You can get on a train, and just a short ride away from that bustling city, you find this. These incredible, silent, beautiful landscapes. These are the empty spaces. That's 73% of Japan that's mountainous and forested, so rich in nature, but poor in people.
And the data, it really backs us up. The numbers are just wild. Almost half of all international visitors go to Tokyo. That's it. Add in Osaka, and you've pretty much covered almost everyone. The rest of the country's regions, they get just a tiny little fraction of the visitors.
Okay, so this is a huge, tangled problem, right? You've got a shrinking population, a countryside that's emptying out, and cities that are bursting at the seams with tourists. How do you even begin to solve that? Well, the answer might just lie in turning the country's biggest weakness into its greatest strength.
What we're seeing now is Japan making a really smart strategic pivot. The new plan is to disperse tourists away from those crowded cities and guide them into the vast natural landscapes that really define the country, promoting a whole new kind of travel, wellness tourism.
And let's be clear, this isn't just a feel-good idea. There is a massive economic incentive here. We're talking about a market projected to be worth almost 75 billion US dollars by 2030. This isn't some niche concept, it's a major economic strategy.
And this is where Japan has a home field advantage, you know? They're building on these incredible traditions that are centuries old. Think Zen tourism for mental clarity, nature tourism through practices like Shinrin-yoku or forest bathing, and of course its world-famous therapeutic onsen hot springs. And there's also nutritional wellness with concepts like Shojin-rori, this incredible traditional Buddhist vegetarian cuisine.
And this is what that vision looks like. It's about offering people a chance to have these really deep, restorative experiences that are totally rooted in Japanese culture, connecting both spiritual and physical well-being directly to the land itself.
I mean, look at this. This is the alternative to a packed street in Tokyo. By shining a light on its breathtaking rural areas, Japan is hoping to spark some sustainable growth and, revitalize the very regions that have been left behind for so long.
And really, this brings everything full circle. It's the core of Japan's new strategy. The very same mountainous terrain that once hemmed the nation in, that constrained it, is now being totally reimagined as its most valuable asset, a huge, natural sanctuary in a crazy, frantic world.
So that leaves us with one final big question. Japan is essentially betting its future on its past. It's hoping that the quiet, ancient power of its timeless landscapes can solve the very modern quiet emergency of its population. The question is, will it be enough?